Jefferson got a new deal yesterday. I'm sure you've already spoken about this, but I have heard some like back and forth. Some people think Justin Jefferson's new deal, which by the way is a $35 million annual deal. It's huge amount of money, a giant jump from Tyreek Hill's guaranteed amount of money previously. Now, Justin Jefferson is an incredible wide receiver, kind of in a league of his own when it comes to all the wide receivers and even Brandon Aiyuk. I know 49er podcast, but I think everyone can be, including BA, can probably be realistic about where he stands. He was never going to get as much as Justin Jefferson. But I've heard some people say that the Justin Jefferson deal doesn't interfere with Brandon Aiyuk at all. And I'm of the argument that I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there is some effect, and I am a little bit disappointed with the 49ers front office to not try to get BA's deal done before Justin Jefferson's for a couple of reasons. One, with Justin Jefferson getting, he got he got more money than even I thought. And I thought he was going to make a ton of money. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe not more. I don't know. Did it surprise you? His deal? I felt like it shocked quite a, especially the guarantees. Like the jumping guarantees was quite a lot.
Yeah, I think I think I was surprised that he was the highest paid non-quarterback. But then again, like, not too surprising, I guess. So it didn't shock me too much.
So my thought, and I was talking with Jose about this, because Jose was under the theory that it's in a league of its own. It doesn't affect BA at all. I think that that's pretty untrue. I think with Justin Jefferson averaging around $35 million a year, potentially, if they could have gotten the deal done prior, I thought that the 49ers would be arguing, let's say, between like 26 and 29, 30, whatever, like this range for BA. And then this in my head was like, this is probably what BA is asking for. This is what the 49ers are willing to compromise with around this deal. And a lot of these things are set by like, you kind of get paid around or above the last guy who got a deal. And I know that there was reports that Brandon Aiyuk was comparing what he wanted to other wide receivers that have gotten paid this offseason and that are going to get paid. And so I was under the impression that they would be in a certain range. And I think now that Justin Jefferson has gotten paid, that even if it's only 1 or 2 million more, I think it does kind of go up a little bit. It's like, okay, well, this is not the same bracket anymore, because now, I don't think BA is going to walk in and say, I want more than Justin Jefferson. He reset the market. I'm going to get paid next. I should reset it. I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah. I think most people are pretty realistic. And most agents, they understand these things. But I do think he would have a bad agent if he said, they were previously going to settle on 26 or 27, if he didn't go, hey, this wide receiver just signed for an average of 35. You need to pay my client 28, 29, because that's still a huge discount compared to this guy who just got signed. And we understand he has, more targets, more catches, whatever, but he's not within he's not worth $10 million less. You know what I mean? Like, so now to me, I do think it has an effect on what they're going to pay BA. And I don't really understand. I think what the Vikings did is pretty intelligent. It seems like they waited till that post June 1st. I know for the 49ers, we had that Eric Armstead money hit our cap. So the 49ers had more money to pay other guys like Christian McCaffrey, like Brandon Aiyuk. I imagine the Vikings had a similar thing when June 1st happened. It seems like the deal must have already been worked out because they announced it the very next day. And I kind of wish the 49ers were quick to that. I also think, and this is maybe I'm projecting, but I think football is a sport of confidence and humility, but also one of ego and of pride. And I think these guys do have, and I don't mean ego in a negative way, but you have to have a healthy ego in order to believe you're the best to get to this point. You're not going to get to this point if you don't have more confidence in yourself than everyone else around you. So yeah, I just feel like if I was the 49ers, I would have tried to pay BA before Justin Jefferson, because I do think this raises his asking price a little bit. Do you agree with that?
It's kind of like what you said. I think him and his agent, of course, will try and make that argument. Now, whether or not that does actually push his number a little bit higher than, I mean, we'll never know what the asking price was before this, right?
Yeah, so, true.
We'll never really know, but and we already know that Brandon Aiyuk is not going to get paid as much as Justin Jefferson, not even close. So again, it'll be hard to know when these numbers come out how much of it was influenced by Justin Jefferson. I think if there is any influence, it's probably minute, just because we know Justin Jefferson is in a league of his own. I think well before this deal, I think a lot of people kind of figured where that Justin Jefferson contract was going to fall as far as like average per year. There were the reports he wanted $35 million a year. He got that. So it was
kind of like Nick Bosa, where it was just like, okay, tell me what you want, we're gonna give it to you, type of thing.
Yeah, which as he should, right? Like he's the top of his game. Now, I just think that all of these other contracts that happened before this one, they already kind of knew what that number was going to be. So I think they naturally maybe aimed a little bit lower than that, just knowing. So I don't know. I still feel like Aiyuk's deal will probably be closer to the Amon-Ra St. Brown range, the Jalen Waddle range. I still see it in between those two, maybe slightly above Amon-Ra St. Brown in annual value, and then maybe you don't give up as many guarantees, or like vice versa. Like they have to compromise somewhere, right? Like if you're going to get more guarantees, like maybe your APY will be 28 million rather than 30. I don't know.
Can I ask? Because my conspiracy theory is like where I was kind of going with the ego thing is, if they would have gotten Brandon Aiyuk's deal done and announced it, let's say, because the June 1st cap hit accrues, and then that very next day, if they would have announced it like 5 a.m. on East Coast time, like had the deal signed and done, then Brandon Aiyuk, they could pay him a little bit more than Amon-Ra. They could pay him a little more than St. Brown. So it looks like he just did what players love to do. They love to top the guy who just got paid. So he tops him. He has a couple hours where they're celebrating his deal. He just, made a little bit of wide receiver history, changed his life, gets that confidence boost. The team wants him. Now he gets to show up today to mandatory minicamp. He gets to show up tomorrow to mandatory minicamp. Then 1 p.m. Pacific time hits. That's when Justin Jefferson's deal was announced yesterday. And yeah, it's $35 million, but that doesn't say anything about Brandon Aiyuk, and in my opinion, doesn't make Brandon Aiyuk look bad from like a self-esteem ego point, where now I feel like even if BA and the 49ers had a deal done, he might not want to announce it the day after someone else just got $35 million, because it's going to look like such a drastic drop-off. Is that me reading too much into things? Because I think your argument is kind of like everyone was already aware that Justin Jefferson was going to get way more. So maybe that doesn't happen with BA. Maybe that wouldn't affect his confidence at all.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, this deal, it doesn't really seem like it's that close to being done between
That's
49ers
true.
and Aiyuk.
I did too. I always talk about my weird stalking here. That's a joke, by the way. I just follow Brandon Aiyuk's girlfriend on TikTok, but they're currently in New York, so doesn't seem like.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's close to Santa Clara at all, close to signing at all. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm still confident the deal is going to get done. It's just a matter of meeting in the middle, and I honestly don't think the middle could be that far apart, because now we have such this large sample size of all these contracts that happen this offseason, and we have the ceiling, which is Justin Jefferson, and we know no one's going to top that. And we have the floor, which, we could probably say is Jalen Waddle, right? There's really not that large of a difference. I mean, we're talking about a few million, but between those two, right? Which I think that's not insurmountable. So they'll meet somewhere in the middle at some point. The question is, who's kind of going to make the bigger compromise, right?
Yes.
Each side at this moment is hoping the other side makes the bigger compromise and meets the demands of the other. But as of right now, it just doesn't feel like Brandon Aiyuk is pressed to push it forward until he gets what he wants. He, him not being there at minicamp seems to indicate that.
Yeah. I guess I could ask you this. Were you surprised he didn't go to mandatory minicamp? I know, I think some people were predicting he would go, but not participate. We've seen players do both. We've seen players show up so that they don't have to pay their fine, but sit out. And we've also seen players not show up. Were you anticipating that he was going to come?
I would say, like, I was yes or no surprised, because I was anticipating that he would come but hold in just to avoid the fines. But, clearly CD Lamb also did the same thing of not appearing at minicamp. And so at that point, can't be too surprised. Brandon Aiyuk also not there.
I wanted to ask, Deebo Samuel was kind of asked about if during his contract negotiations that really affected him, not only from a physical way, but from a mental way. Deebo said that it was really, really stressful. It impacted his mental health a lot. It impacted his ability to train. It impacted his sleep. All of those things. As I study psychology, so and also had a minor in kinesiology, and I spent a lot of that talking about like holistic health. And I think a lot about like adrenals, which is when your body is basically burning through electrolytes and your cortisol levels are really high, so you're not like retaining minerals and stuff, and you're not able to process like heat as much, all these things. And so when I'm seeing these players in these contract years, I think I often think like how this is impacting their body just from like a rest and recovery way of them like being able to process and handle this stress. Once again, going back to Brandon Aiyuk's girlfriend, she talked about on her TikTok having to take some time off school and this being the most stressful time of their lives. Deebo, in his press conference today, said he's been in constant communication with BA, just trying to give him words of encouragement, basically telling him that everything he's going through is like he understands him, saying, this is to be expected. You got to wait it out. It's going to be okay eventually. But more maybe just validating his feelings of a little bit of stress. And Deebo kind of talked about like, you do everything you can do, you try to give your all, and then you're just in this state of a limbo and like hoping that the team thinks that what you did was good enough.